Calibration is the hardest skill in this module. Knowing the markers is not enough. You need to hear a coaching exchange and determine ACC or PCC. That judgment depends on which markers are in play, the depth of demonstration, and whether the pattern holds across the session. We practice now with 3 exchanges. Hold your answer for each one until we walk through it together. Mentor coaches trained on ACC evaluation can hear what the coaching does. At PCC level, that is not sufficient. The question is whether the coaching goes far enough, with the right orientation, without the coach's agenda entering the room. The core calibration question, not just what the coach did, but how far, with what orientation and whose agenda is present. ACC tracks whether the client's wants are followed. PCC tracks orientation and depth. 3 hallmarks distinguish PCC from ACC, qualities that must be consistent across the full session, not just present in isolated moments. 1, who and what are interconnected. The coach holds the person and the topic simultaneously. 2, non-attachment is visible. The coach shares and genuinely releases. 3, the client drives not just topic choice, but where the conversation goes. 1 strong moment in each is not enough. Consistency is the standard. A session that works the problem without working, the person will rarely rate consistently at PCC level in C5 and C7. At ACC, following the topic is sufficient. At PCC, the coach simultaneously holds the person, their beliefs, patterns, identity, alongside the topic. A question that addresses the situation and illuminates the person is PCC level presence. A question that stays purely in the situation is ACC level, even if well constructed. 2 versions of the same opening, ACC. So it sounds like you want to figure out how to have this conversation with your boss. What would a good outcome look like today? Clear agreement, topic focused. Marker 3.2, generally demonstrated. PCC. You mentioned feeling stuck and feeling like something bigger is at stake. What would be most valuable, the conversation itself or what is underneath the stuck feeling? The PCC coach holds both the topic and the person's relationship to it. The ACC exchange delivers a solid agreement. Marker 3.2, generally demonstrated. The PCC exchange reaches toward marker 3.3. Partnering on what the client wants to address requires surfacing which of 2 things they are actually bringing. Does the coach form an agreement around what the client said or partner to discover what the client is actually bringing? That is the calibration distinction, a different quality of attention, not technique. PCC level depth. Exchange 2, ACC. So it sounds like you have tried this approach before and it hasn't worked. Accurate paraphrase, marker 6.1, generally demonstrated. PCC, you have used the word exhausted twice now. And earlier you said you were also excited about this role. I am curious what it is like to hold both of those. The PCC response integrates a pattern in the client's own language and brings it forward into the conversation. Both responses reflect what the client shared. Only the PCC response integrates it into what happens next. Marker 6.1 appears in both. Markers 6.2, 6.5, and 6.7 appear only in the PCC response. Nuances in language, the client's own words, and integrating what was shared into what happens next. Accurate listening and integrated listening are not the same thing. Accuracy is the ACC floor. Integration, using what you heard to shape what comes next, is the PCC standard. Exchange 3, ACC. The coach notices the client keeps circling back to what others will think. What do you imagine your team is thinking about this situation? Solid, open-ended. PCC, same observation. I notice you've come back to what others will think several times. I am curious what you make of that. The coach waits. The client says, I hadn't noticed that. The coach follows and does not return to the observation. That release is marker 7.5 at PCC level. Both exchanges demonstrate awareness. Only the PCC demonstrates marker 7.5. Sharing without attachment, naming the observation, and genuinely releasing it. What attachment looks like, the coach follows with, so what does that tell you? Before the client has processed the observation. That movement belongs to the coach, not the client. Share, release, follow, name the observation briefly. Wait, go where the client takes it, not where you expected. The 3 hallmarks are session-level patterns, not exchange-level checkboxes. When who and what is absent, the coach works the problem, not the person. When non-attachment is absent, the coach pursues their observation even when the client doesn't engage. When the client does not drive, the coach funnels toward their own conclusion. A single moment of non-attachment is not PCC level C7. A consistent pattern across the full session is. Both scales matter. The calibration question for your mentor coaching practice. Across this session, did the coach consistently let the client drive, work the person, not just the problem, and share without attachment? If those patterns appear generally rather than consistently, that is the developmental focus for your next session. Calibration is not about catching errors. It is about seeing the quality of presence that runs through the whole session. Name that in your feedback.